on to our second guest speaker and our final speaker for today. I think he probably needs no introduction, but he is an Emirati entrepreneur and a speaker who is recently also known for his video series AB Talks. Hi, Anas, how are you?
Hello. Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
And
my pleasure.
I guess for today, how we're going to lay this out is we've had questions submitted from the students on Instagram,
Okay.
and there will be questions on the chat as well that at any point we could switch over to them.
Sure.
So, the very first question that everyone wanted to ask is sort of a play taken from your own book, which everyone wanted to know, how are you really doing?
How am I really doing? Is that the question?
Yep. How are you really doing today?
Today. Uh, Today is weird. Today, I've had a lot of things happening, and I still have a few more things to finish. I think I'll be done around 1 a.m. with work. So, and I need to work out, and I need to have dinner with my brothers because I promised them. So yeah, it's a mix of things. I feel I just need to, at the end of the day, just completely disconnect from this and from all the distractions of the day. So that's how I'm doing.
Interesting answer, and I really hope that you have a sort of good time getting everything done, and good luck with that. Thank you so much for fitting us in to your busy schedule. I guess the second question is, describe yourself in one word.
I'm not going to answer that.
You don't want to?
No. Everybody
Okay.
wants me to answer my own question, but
It's
maybe one day if I end the show, I will answer.
okay. Okay, we'll go to the next question then. Everyone wants to see, because you've done a lot of things, you've started a lot of startups, your own sort of revolutionary businesses and series and that kind of thing. How would you define success, or your road to success, or the hardships that you go through?
How I personally would define success, or what
Yeah,
is success in general.
how you personally would define success.
I think uh, success is subjective, like beauty, like happiness. What makes somebody happy makes another person not so happy. What makes somebody ecstatic doesn't necessarily make somebody ecstatic. And I think success, to me, I think it's being free, owning my own time, which is one of the luxuries of being your own boss. But entrepreneurship is not for everyone because there's a lot of shit you have to do to be an entrepreneur, a lot of work. So yeah, I think owning my time is important, and being the person that I feel I want to be and express myself. I think that is a luxury because most people are not themselves.
I think the next question sort of ties into this whole being your own boss and starting your own thing, being an entrepreneur, which is, have you ever found yourself at a crossroad or having to make a big decision? And how did you deal with that? How would you approach something like that?
How do I get over a disappointment, you mean?
No, like a big decision that you've gone through or you had to make throughout your journey to where you are now. So if you had two things that you had to pick from and you had a hard time making a decision, how would you prioritize one over the other?
I'll do the scissor, paper, rock.
That works too.
Um, Look, I think one, being emotional. By the way, am I supposed to admit everybody who's asking to join, or somebody's?
We're doing that on the side. It's fine.
Um, I think emotions are a very can be a very dangerous thing when making decisions. And I've done. I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to work, but I've done few decisions out of emotion, and I've made mistakes. because of emotional decisions. And I think so. Emotion is a very important aspect to be extremely aware. Why are you selecting this person? Why are you hiring this person? Why is this person getting a raise? All of these things you have to think, am I doing it out of being biased or being emotional or because I like this person, he makes me laugh? Or is it a very business oriented decision? So emotion is the first point I would say. And second, it's a book that I would recommend to everybody here. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I always talk about it. And it's one of those books that I think every human being should read. I think he mentioned something when it comes to money that in every investment you make, you have to know the assets and the liabilities. So if you have a very difficult, I use that in life, not only in money. So if you want to travel, or you want to get married, or you want to get divorced, or you want to join a program, or whatever, right? You can sit down and just really look at the assets, the positives, and the liabilities of the situation. And then you can make a much easier decision. And sometimes just writing it down like that, or just saying them, you start to know if you should hire somebody or if you should be in a certain friendship or relationship or a job. If you're miserable, you know that, okay, that's quite bad. So
Yeah.
maybe that way.
Thank you so much. I think that's actually a really good answer. It's very raw and direct and blunt, and it's very informative.
That's all I.
And it's great. I think that's what we need. This
I
is the
want to say
purpose
hi
of
to
the talk.
all the speakers who are before me. So hello.
Go for it. If you have anything to say, go for it, and then we
No,
can.
that's it.
That's
Just
fine.
wanted to say
Okay.
hi.
Um, there is a question. I think there are a lot of university students, especially in AUS, that have their own startups and they're trying to have their own startups. And many of them asked about what are tips you would give students who would want to go into ventures like that? What are things you think are important for them? Traits, decisions, whatever it is to have.
Um, it's a broad question, but I would say
You can.
first and most important thing is to do something you actually enjoy doing. Because I see a lot of people fall into the hole of doing something because somebody else is doing it. If you see somebody who has a successful burger business or abaya business or I don't know, tech business or e-commerce business, and you're like, just because he's making money, I'm going to do the same. Completely wrong. That is already you're really starting on the wrong footstep. And I'll explain why. Because in starting up a business, you have to do a lot of things. You have to be the accountant, the marketeer, the HR, the procurement, the legal. And if you don't like what you're doing, or you don't have a huge passion for it, you're going to run out of steam. After 6 months, when the business is still being delayed, when you still have problems with the lease, when you still can't hire the right person, if you don't have passion, which is your fuel, you're going to stop. And you see it all the time. People want to get a six pack, they go to the gym after 3 times, they're like, okay, I'll stop, back to my Snickers. So if you don't have that passion, you don't usually continue. Whether it's in business or in a relationship or anything, I think you really have to be sure why you're doing this. Am I doing it for me because this is what I enjoy doing, or I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it and everybody is suggesting. So that is my main thing. After that, everything should be easier.
I think there are people in the chat that really want to ask questions, so we'll move to that for just a second.
Sure.
And someone asked, what is something that motivates you in life?
Life.
In just in general, what keeps you going?
That's my answer. Life.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
think I'm
in
just
what
I'm
sense?
hungry. I'm hungry for life. I have a love for life. And you notice, like I was watching a Netflix documentary, which I really recommend also recently, of Quincy Jones, if you've ever heard of him. And Quincy Jones is a music composer, writer, producer, and he's written for Sinatra, he's written for Michael Jackson, and he's done the Heal the World song and so many things. And what I loved is the guy is old now. and he still dresses nicely, and he still has his necklace and his clean clothes, and when he's walking around he's nice to people, and he's like, hey darling, and hey love, and hey sweetheart. And I'm like, it's beautiful to see a human being that has achieved so much, who could just literally sit down and say, you know what, I'm done, I've already achieved what 100 people or 1,000 people would dream of. But he still has this, I want to know more about life. I want to open a jazz bar. I want to do a new movie. And I think that's kind of how I would relate. You have to have a hunger and a curiosity for life, to always learn, to always get better. So, yeah, that's what motivates me.
I think we only have a few minutes left, so I'm gonna try to get as many questions from the chat as possible. Someone asked, how do you deal with rejection? And then someone else mentioned, how would you feel? Do you ever feel guilty about taking a much needed break? So I think in general, how would you handle setbacks in a way, if we want to put an umbrella term on it?
How would you handle setbacks? I think by knowing that they're just temporary. The moment you know that a bad situation, a death by somebody close to you, a failed business, a bad attempt at anything, if you realize it's temporary. Today you feel like crap, tomorrow less, after tomorrow less, after a while you're at end terms. And I think once you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you look at the half full part of the glass, it's a very different perspective. And that's what people, I think human beings have hope in them. And I think you just have to focus on it and know that you will get out of it. You just have to take it day by day.
Yeah. Unfortunately, since we don't have much time, we'll only take one more question. Would you like to pick whatever you want from the chat, or would you like me to just choose it? It's fine.
How much time do you have? I'm sorry, what's your name, by the way?
Noor.
Noor.
Yeah, Noor
How much
Haddad.
time do you have on your Skype call? Is it closing, you mean?
No, but according to what we discussed, their slot was supposed to be till 7:50. So unless you want us to extend, we're more than happy to.
Yeah,
We
my
would.
trainer is coming in 10 minutes. So when I see him coming through the door, I'll let you know.
Okay, so we'll keep going until you tell us to stop. That's
I'll hide.
absolutely fine.
I won't let him see me.
Okay. Um, I'll just keep going with the chat because I think everyone's excited and they want to ask. So someone asked, how did you convince your parents to start your own business and be an entrepreneur after studying mechanical engineering? How did you give them the trust and belief that you can totally shift your career and be successful?
I don't know if you like my answer, but I didn't ask them. Like, I just did it. So I graduated in something that I didn't like at all. I graduated as a mechanical engineer. And then what I did, which I think is maybe in my case, it was smart. I did my corporate job, but in parallel, I started my startup, which I think is usually a safe way to do because you have a salary, you take that salary and you invest it into your small business and hopefully become a medium business. And then by the time that it's a medium business, maybe you can leave. So that's what I did. I just did it on the side. And then it started to grow. And then I'm like, okay, I can leave all of this corporate world because this can sustain me now. That was how it worked for me.
For the next few questions, would you like to choose whichever you would want to answer? Because someone wants you to choose. So,
You choose, Noor, I'll leave it to you.
okay. There was someone who asked, how do you choose your guests on AB Talks and make them comfortable to answer deep questions?
Somebody asked me also that they're like, yeah, like I know you know them from before. And I'm like, no, some of them, like today I had two guests. It's the first time I ever see them in my life. And both of them cried. So, and I don't say it as making fun. I say it as something beautiful that sometimes with people, you just have to listen. And if you listen and they know you're not judging them and you're actually listening, which a lot of people don't do, it seems, they open up. And when people show their vulnerability, I think it's a gorgeous thing. It's the most naked you could be with your emotions, is to cry or to laugh till you cry, till you tear up. That's pure emotion. So to also answer the first part of the question, how we choose, it's a human show. So it's about diversity. It's about different backgrounds, an athlete, a singer, an influencer, a depressed person, a happy person, a not so smart person, a deep person. And that's the beauty of humanity. The beauty of humanity is in the diversity. So the show is about the human behind the title. So you'll notice that we don't talk about their achievements. Oh, you won an Oscar. Oh, I don't care about all of these things. I want to talk about your childhood. I want to talk about the hardest moment in your life. I want to talk about suicide. So that is how we, and I think generally popularity, don't get me wrong, popularity is important, especially if they are popular on social media, because the show is on a social media platform. So you need sometimes that push, but also you need a story. You don't want somebody who's quite dumb and can't really, doesn't have a story. So you want somebody that you can converse with.
Someone said this is a very well said answer, and I couldn't agree more. Um,
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. And the next question says, accepting constructive criticism can be hard. How can we deal with that?
Fix your ego. That's how. And I think ego is very much attached to insecurity, very much. And I want you all to think about it. Every person who's very insecure usually has a big ego. They take everything personally. You're like, yeah, I think the sky is much nicer today. Why? You think I'm not happy? I'm like, nobody's even talking about you. Why do you switch everything to you? But I noticed that the more somebody is insecure, the more they're jealous, the more they're envious, the more they take everything so personally. And I think criticism, all of us as human beings, we don't like criticism maybe by nature. But the more we are like, you're really not all that, Anas. You can learn much more if you just sit down and listen. Maybe this person is giving you free feedback that can actually help you. Maybe not, but know that you don't know much. And if Bill Gates is still reading books, I think it's telling that Bill Gates still wants to evolve and still thinks that there's more to learn. Although he could just sit down and say, I'm a billionaire and I don't really need to know. But he realizes, as many of us should, that you can always get better. And I think the moment you realize you're not all that, that you're still version maybe 3.0 of yourself, and hopefully by the time we're dead, we're at 20.0, that's what you need to do in life. And anybody who's trying to offer you constructive criticism, not criticism because they're just in a foul mood, construct, that means they care. But then it's their opinion. You should see how many people tell me what I should do with the show. Do I listen to them? No, most of it, no. But if somebody says something that I'm like, you're right, I should actually do that. Or maybe six people say, Anas, one, two, three. I'm like, okay, there. If six people see that there's an issue there, maybe I should actually listen. So it's tricky when to listen and when not to. But take it with take it for what it is. That person has a good intention. So
I think even for us college students, we always go through constructive criticism, and this is great advice for anyone in general, especially people our age. The next question is, what is the greatest advice you can give to young people of today? I think it sort of corresponds with what you just said, but to add on, maybe.
greatest advice for young people, don't try to please everyone is one. That's, I think, one of the biggest uh, chains humans have, especially in Asia and the Arab world. You always want to please. You want to please your family, your cousins, your neighbor, your friend, your best friend. And where are you? Where are you, Noor, in all of this? Where are you, Ro'a and Haya, and all of the people that are watching? Where are you if you are literally pleasing everyone? You're lost. You're just a little bit of everything. So I think, and I don't want you to be a rebel. So not everything has to be black or white, but you have to say, Wallah, my parents' opinion of me is important. My opinion of me is important, and maybe my best friend because they don't judge me and they understand me. The rest, they're not paying my bills, so whatever. You know.
True. Um, there is another question, which is, what is your bravest decision that you have ever taken? Or what would you choose as your bravest decision?
Bravest,
Yeah.
bravest decision. Uh, Nothing stands out. I don't know. Firing people? No, I don't think it's bravery. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think bravery in general is being afraid but still doing something. Bungee jumping is not that simple. So I've done it
It's
twice.
fun.
Yeah, it's an experience. But I don't know. I don't know if I can't think of something that is, oh my God, you're so brave to do this.
Is there something risky? I think Lima just said maybe something that was risky, something that you could have lost a lot if you made the decision for it, and you
Actually,
just
I
had
have a
to.
point on bravery. I think to be yourself, you have to be brave. I think to be honest, you have to be brave. And I notice honesty is rare, and people being themselves is something also rare. Because being yourself, like just even dressed like this, yeah, with a necklace and everything, in a society that probably won't always understand that, or the old school mentality, the conservative mentality will be like, why are you wearing bracelets? Why is your hair long? And but if it's you and you're not hurting anyone, that needs a bit of bravery, right? To say your opinion. If you don't like something, you're like, I'm sorry, but I don't like this. I'm not going to accept this. That's bravery because everybody says, it's okay. Yeah, we'll see, inshallah. Why? Why? Just say. I'm not saying be rude. Somebody can invite you to a birthday party that you know 1,000,000% you don't want to go. Yeah, you'll see, inshallah, and I will let you know. Why? Why? Just say, thank you. It's very nice of you to invite me, but I want to have other plans, or I'm going to see my family, or I want to sit in my room and look at the wall. Whatever, So I think on being honest and being yourself requires bravery. So I would apply it to myself and to everybody who's doing it.
As someone who avoids confrontation at all costs, I feel like I should take that advice. Um, there
Good.
is one really good question, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd agree, but it is, if you would put your heart in front of you, what would you say? What would it say to you?
That's my question. I took it
Is
from
it?
someone. Yeah, I use it. It's a psychology question. And I actually just used it today in the AB Talks shoot. I asked it to the lady.
Do you want
Uh,
to leave it for AB Talks, or would you mind answering?
this one I don't mind answer. If I put my heart in front of me, I think my heart would say, stay true and keep doing what you're doing. I think so. Stay true to myself as much as possible, always. Yeah.
So that's a really good answer. Um,
I have 4 minutes.
okay,
Is there
we'll
way?
take.
And I'm ignoring.
Do you want us to take a few more questions, or do you want us to conclude and
No, no,
it's
go
fine?
ahead. Go
Okay.
with.
Someone asked, do you think you have reached your goal, or is there something else you want to reach?
I think I reached like 30% of where I want. Yeah. Not even 50. Not even close.
That's very interesting because you're a very accomplished person, mashallah. And I think if anyone from us looks at you, they think, accomplished so much. So to know that everyone has their own standards for themselves, I think is very important.
It is.
I think everyone wants the scoop on the next guest on AB Talks.
Next
Do you
week.
want do you
Next
want
week.
us to give a
Prepare
hint
to,
or?
Next week is a very interesting guest. Very. The
Okay,
hint is that they are famous worldwide.
okay,
If we don't change our mind and switch the guest, but so far it's
okay.
that.
I guess everyone's just gonna have to wait and watch. Um,
My mother doesn't know who it is. I won't tell you guys. So
we could, one could dream, so it's fine. Someone asked, how did you build your self confidence across the years?
how did I build myself?
Your self confidence. I
Self
mean, you
confidence.
could answer yourself as well. Depends on
Self
whichever.
confidence. I think self confidence also comes with practice. So the question, the better or more detailed question is, where are you confident? Because today you ask me to dance ballet, I'll be the most insecure person dancing ballet because it's not something I've practiced. So the question more is, are you maybe overall a confident person? Yeah, I think I'm quite confident as a person. Am I confident in everything? No. And that's, I remember, I always repeat the story. There was a footballer who's very, very, very famous. I won't say his name. Very famous, very accomplished. I think his confidence in a football pitch is like 300%. And then he won an award and he had to say, like, thank you. He was trembling and he just had to say like, hey guys, thanks, I really like this, I appreciate it, I thank God, I thank my mom. That's it. He was trembling and I'm like, wow, this guy on a football field is unbelievably confident, but in public speaking he's not. I mean, all of you, a lot of you here are university students. The first time you had to present to a class, I don't think it was that smooth, right? So needs practice. And I would say to be confident, you need to practice, whatever it is, talking in front of a camera, bicycling, whatever.
We'll take one last question because I know you said 4 minutes. Um, we'll end it on a very relevant note, which is what have you learned through this pandemic?
That's a good question. In the pandemic, I think made everybody pause without a choice. Everybody paused, and it wasn't like a country-based problem. So like, in this country now we're because of this natural disaster we're screwed. It was the whole world, like literally everywhere. So it was a universal problem, which I don't know how many times in history that has ever happened. And it forced everybody to stop. And I think it taught people how to cook and how to spend time at home and how to actually not think that they have to be at a party every weekend and at a club and just always busy with people, people, people. So I thought that was important. My friend said something nice. He said it made him realize who he cares to ask how they're doing. Meaning, if you're every weekend going out with a group to the movies or to whatever, and it's always busy and they're your fun friends, and yeah, they call you and they just talk to you because you go to the gym with them or whatever. When you were all stuck at home, there were only very few people that you actually cared to check on. And that is a huge, huge filter to really think, who do I actually care about? If I remove cinema, party, university, gym, all of these, who do I actually care how they're actually doing? So it's a huge filter on who matters to you. So I thought that was really nice. And alhamdulillah, we taught ourselves to be creative and we kept the businesses running. And AB Talks, we were like on full throttle and we were posting every week. So yeah, you have to look at the half full, although there's a half empty part of the glass, but I choose to look at the half full.
Yeah. I watched last night the interview on Zoom, and it now clicked when you mentioned AV Talks. It was still just as good as every interview you've done. So um, I think that's it for today.
Thank
Since we know you're busy and have a lot to do, but thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. And I know everyone's flooding the chat, and they've been flooding Instagram since yesterday, saying they're very excited for this. So
you.
thank you so much.
Hopefully, I'll see you at your university at some point.
Inshallah, hopefully we go
Thank
back.
you.
Thank you, and we hope you have a great night.